video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Hey, Dan Larson here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode. Last week we made a huge machine gun bass in Marauda style, and today I want to show you how to make a scream bass, a screechy bass, again in Marauda style, something like this. Don't forget that, like always, you can download this project from my Patreon, link is below, and now let's jump into it. Okay, so last week we made this machine gun bass, and today I want to show you how to make this screamy, screechy bass. And I took Marauda as a reference that sounds like this. This is the pure Screech bass on itself. So now before we jump into it, I need to tell you several things that is important to create these basses. So you need a very simple FM chain, 2 sine waves actually, that FM modulate each other. The next thing that is the most important part, I guess, is to add an extra sine wave that is going to be our sub oscillator. And altogether, when you distort this screechy FME sound with the sub, it is going to be very cool. So it will create a very nice and rusty and distorted, like very cool sound, because without the sub, it will just go into a noisy direction and you don't want that. And then you need to distort it and compress it, stuff like that. From that point, it is very, very simple. The next thing is I tried to make this sound in Serum too, so not only an operator, but actually I didn't like the sound because it just started to fall apart when I added voices, when I added unison. The whole sound, the whole synthesizer started to, I don't know how to express it, but falls apart, like behaving very weirdly. Sometimes it didn't give the FME screamy sound, sometimes it just started to waving and stuff like that. Actually, this is not the first time when I experienced this thing, but this time it was just horrible, so I decided to go with operator. And the next thing would be just simply using massive, because Marauda uses massive, so that would be a good thing. But for me, operator is a lot cooler thing because I just love operator. It's just very powerful and very stable synth. Okay, now let's jump into it. So as you can see, I'm using this chain, which means I have oscillator A and oscillator C going out from the synthesizer, but A is modulated by B and C is modulated by D. So actually we have 2 oscillators, an FM chain and the sub inside operator. That is going to be our goal here. We don't need the LFO. A sine wave is modulated by another sine wave. And I think on course 12, it sounds great when you use this sine wave to modulate the basic sine wave that will create the screechy sound. So let me crank up to 4 octaves. So for example, if you use Serum, you need to set it to 4 octaves and go down by 3 semitones to match the 12 course in operator. Okay, so on 16, so 4 octaves higher, this is how it sounds. But I think it sounded better on 12. And I also detuned it a little. And the extra sub is very simple. You just add another sine wave on course 1. And I actually decided to add a noise to the sub, but it's not very important. So can you see how different the sound is with the extra sub? Especially if I add some gain to it. Maybe it's a little closer to Marauda's thing. So before I go forward, let me deactivate all the effects. So right now, this is the basic sound that we get. Okay, I added a chorus, a reverb, and my favorite distortion plugin is the amp from Ableton Factory Effects. And the boost is a great thing here. It distorts our sound in a way that I really want it, into a noisy kind of way. If you are interested in heavy dubstep production, click here. Okay, I used an EQ8 to chop off the highs and the middle highs, because without that it's just very harsh. Cool. Okay, I added a multi-band compression to make the sound a little shinier. Okay, another distortion comes, and this time it's a saturator, a bit warmer preset. And the wobbleness is given by the auto pan. So as you can see, it's just very, very simple. I didn't go to the maximum video amount. I just pulled it back a little. and I set the rate to about 12 Hz, and I had to pull back the phase to 0 because I didn't want to have any stereo effect on this screamy thing, and the shape is going to be just a sine wave. Okay, then an EQ8, because in this case we don't need a sub because we're going to make a different sub for that. And another saturator to the end to basically limit it and adding some more saturation to it. Okay, so this is the main sound, but we need to make an 808 to complete the sound, because the low end is another very important part of these Marauda style basses, because you can't use simply a sine wave, you need to use a very heavily distorted 808 style sound. So for that I went to Serum, and again I need to disable all the effects while we don't need Q3 here, and let's go into Serum itself. This preset is very simple, by the way. I use a distorted bass dropper wavetable, but the thing and the main character is given by the flip warping mode, because as you can see it creates like an interesting distortion to the waveform. Because I disable it, and still you can play around with the flip. So for 808s, this flip warping mode is very handy. Then I had to distort it, because the middle bass frequencies were just too much. Okay, then I went to the FX. I again cut the highs a little. I added the distortion. These are very slight effects, by the way. Compression and another low pass filter to the end. But the main thing here is the drive. Okay, so this is the sound, but when I finished that, I had to use another amp to add even more overtones. But this is too much, so I had to use an EQ8 to chop off the middle basses and the highs and the mids. Okay, a bit warmer plugin again, and a low pass at around 300 Hz to make the sound nice and 808-y. So as you can hear, the sub is very aggressive, with lots of overtones, with lots of distortion, and plays really nicely with the scream bass. Okay, so this was the bass itself, and if you are interested in this whole project, you can download it from my Patreon, link is below. I was Dan Larson, and see you guys next time. Peace!